Good morning and welcome to CMAT Australia Digital. My name is Daniel Mortimer and I am the event director for CMAT. Thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. We really hope that you enjoy the excellent content that we have in store for you, as well as the sponsors in the exhibition area. Please do take the time to go and visit them. They will be there all day and will be able to answer any questions for you and also show you the latest innovations that they have. Today was, of course, the day that we were supposed to meet in person for the postponed CMAT 2020 event. Unfortunately, we were unable to do so. Our next live event will now be on the 19th to 21st of July in 2022 in Melbourne. We hope you can join us then, but really do hope that you take in as much as you can from today, and we'll also be putting more content on for you throughout the year. Our first session is a panel, The Warehouse, now more strategic than ever, with Monique Fenech from the Australian Supply Chain Institute. Over to you, Monique.
Hello, I'm Monique Fenech, Head of Sales and Marketing for Australasian Supply Chain Institute, ASCI. ASCI is proud to be the endorsement partner for CMAT Digital. If you are maintaining a certification or a registration through ASCI under our professional accreditation scheme, today's event is awarded 2 continuous professional development points. Just register to the event under our CPD tab on our website, asci.org.au. Welcome to the first session this morning, The Warehouse, now more strategic than ever. You know, we've all seen fluctuations in demand and it's very difficult for most warehouses to handle. Add the challenge of labour and inventory shortages and it becomes a balancing act. Organisations are doing well to use technology, but human intuition based on best practice knowledge is still an important element in dire need of attention. Fostering a culture where digital technology innovation and the associated learning are intertwined is the biggest challenge for supply chain. I'm pleased to introduce our panel for today's topic. Christine Miller is ASCI's Victorian Chapter Vice President and also Head of Supply Chain Advisory for CBRE. Christine brings her senior executive and international experience in supply chain to today's discussion. Currently, Christine is at the forefront of our industrial and logistics arena. She's delivering end-to-end supply chain services, aligning network and operational requirements with property and infrastructure. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you, Monique.
Jeff Palm is our ASCI Director, Treasurer, and he's also a registered practitioner in procurement under the ASCI Professional Accreditation Scheme. He's an instructor for Certified Stocks and Store Controller, which is our VCare Academy partner, and he brings 30 years of consultant and trainer skills in logistics manufacturing, resources and oil and gas industries. And he instructs an 18-week certification course in logistics and warehouse management. That's the career side to this discussion. Welcome, Jeff.
Thanks, Monique.
And last but not least, David Raymond is CEO of Mobile Training Technologies. This is a human-centered training solution using video-based learning platforms, which has increased productivity, performance, and quality, especially across the automotive industry, including brands like Jaguar, Land Rover, Volvo, and Toyota. Welcome, David.
Thanks, Monique. Hi, everyone.
So first question over to you, Christine. To give context to this discussion, what's happening in industrial real estate?
It's a great question, Monique, and really one that's had a lot of development over the recent 12 months. I think we've just come out of such an experience where having the warehouse be seen as such a strategic part of a business's operation. We've really had the experience over the past several months where we've seen the large scale closure of office facilities, of retail facilities. But under the definition of logistics and supply chain, warehousing has largely been able to continue to operate. And what that has done is it's given a chance for it to really take on increased visibility within a business. So we now have board of directors, we have senior leadership teams that are really now having a greater appreciation of the strategic role that the warehouse in its operations, as well as its place in the end-to-end supply chain, really play for a business. So I thought we might be able to start today just taking a quick look at the costs and understanding how this relates to industrial and logistics property, but also directly fuels the performance of a business's supply chain. So if we spend a few minutes just looking at this pie chart on the left-hand side, what you'll start to see quite clearly is on 50% of that pie chart is representing transportation and distribution. So this pie chart represents total supply chain costs for typical businesses by function. So what that means is of their total supply chain costs, 50% is made up of transportation and distribution costs. If we start to work our way around the pie chart, then we find inventory. Inventory typically makes up about 20%, and these numbers do shift a bit from industry sector to industry sector. But what we're seeing as a result of the disruption to the supply chain that occurred in 2020 as a result of the pandemic, businesses now have a much healthier or more acceptance in terms of holding higher levels of inventory. Prior to the pandemic, businesses running just-in-time inventory practices were applauded by their CFOs, by their board for having very streamlined inventory levels. No one foresaw the large-scale disruption to the flow of product with the large-scale cancellation of flights, the disruption to ocean shipping. So businesses now are adopting really what could be called a just-in-case inventory practice. Businesses are now taking that decision to increase those inventory levels really anywhere between 5 and 10% is what we're seeing really kind of across the board. If we keep moving around this pie chart, we'll skip over labor for just a moment. You then see occupancy, and occupancy only represents 5% of that total supply chain cost. And what you find most often is folks that are then looking to establish their distribution network and identify property solutions, oftentimes focus on the rental levels for particular locations. We would absolutely advocate that looking at rental levels is important, but actually looking at the location and the strategic role that the warehouse plays in the end-to-end supply chain is actually more important. Because when you look at the disparity in costs, a good deal on rent in the wrong location is actually a bad deal 10 times over. But paying a premium on rent to be in a strategic location actually becomes a very critical business decision in terms of fueling the right type of performance. So we've seen businesses really compare locations. Most recently, the likes of BlueScope Steel did a study that really looked at which location was best for their distribution and actually chose a location that optimized their transport and distribution costs. Not saying that they didn't focus on rental costs, but finding a healthy balance between the two. One of the things that really puts a bit more context on this cost for transportation is if you look at the graphic on the right-hand side, almost a third of the total transportation cost is made up of that last mile. And I know everyone thinks e-commerce when they think last mile, but last mile can also be in a B2B context, that last delivery into a supplier. So where the distribution is taking place relative to where deliveries need to happen is a direct driver of that cost. So it's really important that we really look at, for each business, what is the right location? What's the right number of facilities? And these decisions are now becoming much more visible within an organization as that strategic role of the warehouse really starts to take shape.
So, Christine, could I ask, how does this relate to the change in current e-commerce buying patterns?
Great question, David, because we've certainly seen over the recent months how the drive in e-commerce is really pushing up volumes, moving through these types of networks. I put this graphic on the left here because what we're seeing is as we move our own consumption patterns from traditional purchasing through bricks and mortar, through retail stores, we're moving from a traditional distribution model really to the more of an e-commerce, but actually dispersed model. So what you find is businesses that are having to cater to customers through their traditional sales channel, which was likely in person through either bricks and mortar store or a face-to-face exchange, now have additional sales channel, whether that's online, whether it's click and collect, all these different types of options to engage with their customers and their product. We're seeing a need for increased warehouse space as a result of that. So we've done, through the help of our professional research department, we've done some work, and what we're seeing in Australia is on average per year, about 350,000 additional square meters per year to really cater to this new distribution pattern. The other factor that's driving this, we just touched upon inventory, but the other factor is e-commerce operations in the warehouse take 3 times the amount of space as a traditional retail operation in the warehouse. And the reason for that is not only holding the inventory, but the space required to actually then pick an item, ticket it, wrap it, package it, stage its outbound distribution, and provide for that operation. Now, the impact to that, if we look at the graphic on the right-hand side here, this shows the percentage of that warehouse and distribution cost as a percentage of sales. And what we can see is businesses that are heavily dependent on a retail store network, so that bricks and mortar store that actually allows the consumer to actually be the distribution network, their cost is just a little over 6%. Businesses that then have a multi-sales channel environment through bricks and mortar stores, but also through online and other areas of convenience, it's more than double, and it goes up to about 12% of their cost of sales. So what this does is it really means that the quality of the operation becomes really important, not only to a business's resilience to respond to disruption in the supply chain, but also to handle the growth that's happening. So what we are seeing happen is this is driving a need for different skill sets within the warehouse. Is not only is the operation deemed as very, very important and quite strategic, but those operational decisions on where to put the warehouse facility, what type of operation to execute within the building, is it automated, is it manual, what type of technology might come into that? That all requires a different skill set to actually manage that type of operation. So we're seeing a real transformation happen within the warehouse sector. Yes, we've seen it really kind of take up a bit more momentum over the last 12 months as a result of the pandemic. But from what we're seeing, this strategic view towards warehousing is absolutely here to stay. So businesses now need to really focus on making sure they've got the right skill sets, the right expertise that allows them to really integrate this into their business performance.
Yeah, thanks, Christine. A great answer to the question. And Jeff, over to you. What are the future jobs and what are the pathways in logistics that you can talk to from Christine's comments?
All right, great. Thanks, Christine. What I want to talk about now is the people side of the equation. And it's really all about COVID, as Christine mentioned, has really given us a jolt in there, and things have really gone up a notch in the warehousing area. And if we look at the latest Hayes job report, skills in demand in the warehouse distribution are mainly now for warehouse managers and supervisors. But employers are looking for candidates who are analytically sound with a proactive approach to KPIs. And I know we all live and die by KPIs these days. As companies continue to appreciate the benefits of improving logistical efficiencies, candidates who can track, monitor, and manage KPI performance are highly sought after. And also, they're looking for warehouse supervisors who are willing to manage small teams. The report also reveals in the last financial year, 50% of employers intend to increase permanent staff levels, and with COVID making supply chain the darling, this is an obvious trend. This activity will be focused on multi-skilled candidates across transport, warehousing, and supply chain. And this is the result of a focus on efficiency improvements and positive productivity. with employers looking for candidates with a strong knowledge of systems, processes, and a history of reducing costs. Achieving KPIs as mentioned, and with diverse experience. The Certified Stores and Stock Controller course will provide many of these skills required. Employers also want candidates with a wide technical skill set who they can utilise to their full potential. And in supply chain at the moment, there's definitely some challenges around. Another interesting trend is the recovery of senior level supply chain market. Today, candidates with change management experience from both a people and process perspective are in high demand. This is a result of organisations realising the impact that big data, systems and technology can have an improving effect on efficiencies and reducing costs. Individuals who can coach a business through this transition are highly sought after in the current market. Permanent hiring intentions have increased steadily over the past 5 years, peaking in 2018, and we've seen this remain consistent so far in 2019 and also 2020. Fixed-term contracts and project roles are a notable change in the market that was previously dominated by permanent roles, and I believe this will be part of the future as we tend to move more to temporary roles rather than permanent. As Christine mentioned, e-commerce demand will drive demand up by 350,000 square metres of additional warehouse space for a year, and will need the skill base to man these venues. In 2020, even with COVID restraints, employers tell us they will continue adding to the headcount over the next few months. I mean, an example there is the Woolworths and Coles massive demand last year when panic buying arrived and they had to ramp up their levels of personnel to meet the demand. And of course, part of that is also the key driver is the rapid pace of demand, leading to restructures and transformational projects. So despite well-documented cost pressures, which most companies allude to, organisations plan to invest in adding highly skilled professionals to their organisation to successfully implement business change. The widening skill gap is a cause of concern though. 70% of employers we surveyed said skill shortages will impact the effective operation of their businesses or departments, up from 67% in the last year. Also in the warehousing sector, certification is in demand, with diploma or degree qualified candidates with experience in lean principles are sought. To meet these needs, ASCII is offering the Certified Stores and Stock Controller course, beginning on the 25th of February and running for 18 weeks, 1 night a week over 2 hours. This course provides a hard copy book, instructor-led sessions, and 1 exam resit plus 1 resit if needed. If you'd like more information on the CSS course, you can hover your phone over the barcode on the screen and we'll take you to the course outline for CSSC on the ASCII website.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Christine, did you want clarification around some definitions there?
Yes, maybe this would be a good point, Jeff, because oftentimes I find employers use the word supply chain and logistics almost interchangeably. From your perspective, should we consider them both the same thing, or are there differences, and does that relate to some of these courses as well?
I agree with you, Christine. There is a debate, especially on LinkedIn at the moment. I got involved in a strong debate on the difference between logistics and supply chain just last week. And yes, logistics was the old name for supply chain, but it's sort of now been relegated to sheds and trucks, basically forward logistics and reverse logistics and storage. And supply chain has been the word that has replaced the old meaning. So supply chain now covers end-to-end supply chain from raw materials through to production, through to the end user, and everything in between. And that, to me, is the main definitions or differences between supply chain and logistics now.
Yeah, thanks for that clarification, Jeff. So, Jeff, before we go on to David and some exciting technology that we want to share with you, Jeff, what can attendees to this webinar do now to future-proof a career?
Good question, Monique. One thing I believe is they should get into ASCII and get accredited and recognised as a supply chain professional. You don't have to be a member of ASCII to get your accreditation. And if you're a member of any other organisation, such as SIPS or SCLAA, we welcome anyone coming in without needing membership to ASCII. So to be accredited, the benefits are really, it definitely enhances your career. It gives you professional recognition of your competence and confirmation and acknowledgement by industry of your career achievements, and against a globally aligned industry accepted set of standards on par with other professional disciplines in industry, such as doctors, lawyers, engineers. Eventually, we expect to get federal legislation in place to get this recognised as a career, and that's our main driving goal of ASCII at the moment. And what are the options available to you? At the moment, we have 2 levels now. A third will follow once legislation comes in place. The entry level is ASCII Associate, and then the next level is ASCII Practitioner. And as Monique said, I'm a registered procurement practitioner. I was one of the first to get that designation. I'm quite proud of that, over 2 years now. And we're having quite a move in applications occurring. And you see there are 4 streams. One is operations, the other is procurement, logistics, and integrated logistics support is the other one, which is more the defence side of supply chain. So those are the 4 streams and 2 levels available at the moment. And I encourage you to go to our website and on the registration and view how to apply.
Great, thanks very much, Jeff. Now over to you, David. David, what are some ways that our leaders can go about building a learning culture other than the things that Jeff has said, encourage certification, encourage registration under ASCII's professional accreditation scheme? Those things are really important to a culture of learning, but we're really keen to see what you have to offer.
Thanks, Monique. So I'm bringing in some new tech to this conversation. And 2 types of technology we use to teach and both support the performer in the workplace is VR, typically for training, where we can run simulation scenarios, put people under pressure of the normal processes that they run. And the other is augmented reality, known as AR, to create amazing performance support. So I'd like everyone to think of VR for training and AR for performance support, where better decisions in the moment of need can be created because we can bring data into the field of view of the performer. And a few weeks ago, January 2021, Gartner wrote, "Non-traditional competitors are reshaping industries through disruptive innovation." And so we've seen that happening in front of our eyes. And they created 4 capabilities to fight the non-traditional supply chain: being close to your customer, innovation mindset, agile organization, and agile business models. And within agile organization, is the use of data to make decisions. And our augmented reality applications are great at that, and they're about to get a lot better. So for some time, we've been using AR devices like tablets and phones to bring information into the field of view of the user. But the user, of course, has to carry that device. So right now, we're just bringing glasses into Australia so that users can see information in their glasses. We can combine information, all types of information, visual and numerical, statistical, and we can present a product and presentation view of information. We can show navigation information, and we can collaborate with experts inside our field of view. So there's some use cases here that have been touted for a while, and they are now, with the advent of 5G connectivity and glasses becoming more wearable, easier to wear, they're now functional, wearable and affordable, and we are finding a better return on investment there. So if you can find one of these headings that suits a use case of yours, then AR glasses displaying information in the line of sight could really make an impact to your business. Typically, workforce efficiency, bringing on workers through peak times, transferring some of the upfront training into on-the-job performance support is a great use of AR glasses. So I thought I'd show a video of the use case of AR projection for a forklift in a warehouse, showing some information, some safety information as another fork whizzes past. And that's bringing textual information about the environment. Also product picking. The glasses can pick up the use of barcodes and QR codes and visualize objects in the setting to improve quality. Order picking can be improved by visual picking aids that are in the glasses. And also during the picking, if we need to send information, send messaging to users, to everybody, then we can do that and they can receive it in their view whilst they're doing their work. In this case, the labels are on the printer, go get them. So these use cases are well established inside warehousing. So what's on board the glasses to help us do that? So glasses have the tech inside them that can recognize spaces and surfaces and angles. They can provide remote vision to experts that aren't with us. They can recognize objects, including our hands, so that we can do hand gestures to control the glasses. They can accept search commands that we can speak to the glasses, and they provide us audio back as well as information for our environment. This is all while they're presenting information through the glass, tracking our eyes. They've got light sensors, proximity sensors. They do body tracking now of other people in our field of view. And most importantly, they integrate our data, your data, into the field of view for the employee.
So David, can I ask a question there?
Sure.
How could a company justify the ROI on these glasses? Because it's not just the glasses themselves that you'll need, is it?
So that's a great question, Jeff. So I've got a slide here on calculating ROI. So the use cases that don't require us to do too much in the way of creating systems are the best use case and are readily available to roll out now. So those use cases that require the employee to see information in their line of sight, to have their hands free, textual information, those are the best use cases. And so some things like work instruction, like general information into the glasses, they are good use cases for improving the ROI. The remote support, we already have those systems that actually manage the remote support, and we just need to integrate into that organizational information. So they are a great use case for bringing the ROI forward, because the development time through these is much lower. Compliance, where you need traceability and quality, can scan barcodes, and voice commands can help you track and trace, provide traceability through your processes where you're chasing tracing or zero defect even. So the above the line is great. Below the line, where we have to create lots of content for the environment, these use cases are more expensive to create content. So the cost of the glasses has come down to 2,000 Australian dollars per piece landed here in the country, and we have them on the way. So I'll just head back to where I was. So what we can show in the glasses is hand menus. So if you raise your hand, that can prompt the positioning of a menu where you can select A, B, or C in that scenario. Or you can use a specific menu for selecting items. It can also show screens of information, and it can show screens where we can work with information and make decisions, and in fact make things happen. So here's a video of a use case that shows Microsoft's HoloLens being put into effect. So initially, currently, using the mobile phone, an issue has occurred, a local expert is called in, they have a look, they triage, and they produce their mobile phone to bring in an expert. We bring in that expert and they start talking us through that scenario. We can use two-way communication already, so they can provide enhancements on screen to show us things. But now change that up to some augmented reality glasses, and all of a sudden we take away the time between educating the person and them doing. So in the same way, they've called in the expert is suggesting to bring some information up to help them, and let's get in and do it. Straight away, we're doing. And then when we finish, we can remove the glasses. So they're not something that you put on and keep on. They're not hard to put on. They're easy to take on and off. So it aids this use case here. So these are the glasses that we have. They are the Pro 3 from New Eyes. They're small, they're compact, they come in a great case, and they are only 88 grams, so that they're not difficult to place on the head. They don't cause any muscle strain at all. They're just like normal glasses. And I wanted to not forget AR tools. So as you can see here, an AR device or glasses can look at something and perform a count. You can see different counts going on here. So don't forget that AR can be a great tool for measuring, counting, converting what it sees digitally into information for you. And lastly, I just wanted to show the sexy Apple glasses, which they tout will be here in a year. They're much more sleek. They'll have users pandering to get on them. So they've been coming from the tablet to the phone to the watch and then to the glasses as their journey. So using gestures to control them, it'll track blinking. And this guy here, even NASA could track that guy's blinking. And they have LiDAR detection on them. So that was brought into the mainstream by the autonomous vehicle industry, using that to visualize cars and traffic and autonomous driving.
Well, thank you, David, for sharing that exciting technology with us. And look, has been a really great learning experience, both hearing about industrial property, hearing about certification and registration for career enhancement, and also hearing about some of the future learning cultures we can have within the warehouse. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our panelists for today's discussion. Christine, Jeff, and also David, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Monique.
Thank you.
You can reach out to any of us by contacting in our email address, inquiries@ascii.org.au, for more information. Bye for now.